Hey everybody, I'm Duane Murray. I am the co-creator of the Dark Horse comic book, Who Are the Power Pals? And this is the True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to celebrate Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with Duane Murray about his comic book series, Who Are the Power Pals? From Dark Horse Comics. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Based in Hamilton, Ontario, Duane Murray graduated from York University's Acting Conservatory in 1998 and is an alumnus of the National Screen Institute and TIFF Studio for writing and producing. He has script consulted on projects for multiple companies and studios and has worked in developing and writing television adaptations, including the international bestselling novels The Last Rituals, Prey, and Mythago Wood. He has also acted in multiple productions, highlighted by playing Hansi Kalkofen in the Academy Award-winning Best Picture Spotlight. He also had a part as the announcer in TV miniseries adaptation of Jeff Lemire's Essex County. Duane is also the Ringo-nominated author of the top-shelf graphic novel Better Place, illustrated by Shawn Daley. His latest project is Who Are the Power Pals? From Dark Horse Comics. Who Are the Power Pals is the story of washed-up actors, Derek and Alex, who have been best friends since playing teen superheroes Swallow and Buzzard in the 90s TV show Power Pals. When a video of the duo defending tourists from being badgered by a pair of rip-off characters goes viral, the attention inspires them to fight more crime. But when their low-level crime fighting inadvertently disrupts the plans of a crazed crime boss, their friendship will undergo the ultimate test, and it, or they, may not survive long enough to enjoy their newfound fame. So without further ado, here's my chat with Duane Murray about his comic book series, Who Are the Power Pals? From Dark Horse Comics. So Duane Murray, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Oh, happy to be here. Happy to chat. Well, here I'm still in my house, but happy to attend the online.
Thank you for virtually attending. How about that?
Yeah, no problem.
Well, before I get to all the questions, I would like to know, what was the first comic book that you read?
I wish I could remember. I don't remember. I remember the first comic I bought with my own money, which was Batman 417 off a spinner rack at a Max Milk. And it was the beginning of the 10 Nights of the Beast storyline. I don't know if you remember that one.
The KGB Beast?
The KG Beast.
Yeah.
I remember too being like, that was the beginning of me being suckered by covers because Zek did the cover, but Zek did not do the interiors. And I didn't appreciate, I believe it was Aparo that did the interiors, and I didn't appreciate him then. I wanted the interiors to look like the covers, but they didn't. But still, I remember loving the story. That's the first comic I bought with my own money. I dug out old comics that I'd read. Like I read my uncle's comics at the cottage, which was really old. Like we're talking Origin of Doctor Strange, Jerry Lewis comics, things like that. I also had, like, my mom would buy me like the Spider-Ham comic and the What The comics because I originally liked funny things. I loved Mad Magazine, and so my mom would get me the comics that seemed to be funny. But I've been reading comics my whole life, so that's partly why I don't remember my first comic I've read, because I would have been probably 4 years old.
Right. Well, those are great inspirations growing up, but I'm wondering who or what inspires you to create today?
I'll tell you who is today. I've only been creating comics since Better Place came out in 2021. And I would say the people that inspired me to make that comic were people who appeared in that comic, actually, like Jeff Lemire, Matt Kint, Nate Powell. And I think it's because before that, comics just seemed so nebulous to me. Like I didn't understand like how Mark Waid got his job. Like I didn't understand that. And I couldn't draw. And I noticed Matt Kint, Jeff Lemire, Nate Powell, they were telling the stories that I could tell. I wasn't I loved superhero comics, but I didn't think about writing them. And they were the ones that were writing, different kinds of stories. And so they're my original inspirations. And Now I go back to Four Kids Walk Into a Bank is a big one for me. Matthew Rosenberg does the kind of writing I really like to do, especially in his independent stuff. And basically, a lot of the independent people doing their stories are who inspire me to create them today. And it's my favorite medium to create in. I really love it. I come from the film and TV world, but I've always been a part of comics. And in doing one, it's the medium I'd like to create stories in the most, for sure.
Great. Well, we're here talking about your latest project. Who are the Power Pals from Dark Horse Comics? I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the story. How would you describe it to someone?
I've described it 50 different ways, but it's about two middle-aged, forgotten teen stars. And I put stars in quote because they were never really stars, but they were almost stars of like a failed 90s superhero TV show. And they want to feel relevant and important again because they got that sort of 1 second of fame. And so they put on their old costumes and they make viral videos fighting crime because one of them sort of becomes viral by mistake. So they want to keep doing it. But in doing so, they draw the attention of a crazy crime boss who's also a studio head. Now he's actually trying to kill them. So now they have actual criminals trying to kill them.
Wow, that's some type of story, that's for sure.
It's got a Pineapple Express kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very into buddy comedies, and I just don't see them anymore. Like those, even in comics like Quantum and Woody or those classic Booster and Beetle relationships, I don't see them as much anymore. And I really wanted to tell a story like that, so that's what I did.
You just mentioned a couple of comic books there. Were those sort of inspirations for creating your own book, or was there something else that put a light bulb in your head, said, oh yeah, this would work?
Very specifically, Four Kids, I already mentioned it, but Four Kids Walk Into a Bank is my biggest inspiration for this book, though not a buddy comedy. It's four kids, but it had that mix of comedy and heart and a little bit weird and a little bit unrealistic, but still set in the real world. And also just the way they told the story visually and even down to the lettering. I just found there was so much fun experimenting going on. And so that sort of showed me this could work. They just showed me it can work. And I follow in their footsteps for this book specifically. But yeah, I mean, it was, the relationships expired by like that sort of bashing head friends like Quantum and Woody, even like Green Arrow and Green Lantern. Those comic relationships definitely inspire it. The Kevin Maguire Justice League definitely inspires it. But Four Kids Walk Into the Bank was the specific book that I go to that showed me this is a story I could tell in comics.
You mentioned how the protagonists of your story are middle-aged. Is that the target audience for your book, or
it is? Yeah, it's so my first book, Better Place. I was writing it just as sort of a nostalgic trip, and the publishers marketed it towards middle grade, which makes sense. The character is young, but that wasn't my intention. And so with this book, I wanted to write for basically me and the people my age and people that read comics in the 80s and can remember that, and the 90s. And so all the publishers like reach a big audience and like, this is for the comic shop guys. This one to me is for the comic shop guys who used to read those kind of comics back in the day.
Cool. As a writer, I wanted to ask a little bit more about your creative process. Can you walk me through how you created this book?
So the story was actually originally a film pitch, but it was just a pitch. My best friend and I, who we still collaborate sometimes, we were coming up with film ideas and stuff together, and we were selected to pitch a story at the TIFF International Film Festival. And so we did, but all we had was the characters and sort of a situation of two former teen stars wanting to be famous again. So they go out to fight crime. I didn't have a script, didn't have anything really. And the pitch went horribly because we didn't know how to pitch back then. And after Better Place and loving that process, I decided to take that story, which again, it wasn't a film. It was just originally going to be intended for that. And I decided, you know what, this actually would make a really good comic. So I took that story and actually wrote the script from scratch. And, that involved writing a story. Like, to me, storytelling is always the same. You just need to alter things slightly for what medium you're trying to tell it in. I learned a lot doing Better Place. I felt confident in doing comic scripts. Then I took to Twitter back in the day when Twitter was a useful place to find talent. And I put out a call, and Michael Walsh, who's a friend of mine here in Hamilton, he boosted it for me because he's got a much bigger following. And someone tagged Ahmed, and tons of people put their name forward. And it just wasn't right. But someone tagged Ahmed. I looked at Ahmed's online comic at the time, which is all he'd done, called Diary of the Astronudes. And I loved his stuff and I thought he was perfect. And so I pitched him. He said yes immediately. And we created a pitch. We created a 6-page little pitch along with, characters in the storyline. And Dark Horse picked it up. And then it was on pause for about a year because Ahmed got called by Kevin Smith to do the Quick Stops book. So it was actually supposed to be out a lot longer ago, but I'm just glad it's out at all. But that was basically how this story came to be, this comic.
How was the nuts and bolts sort of creative process with Ahmed? Did you just write the script and said, there you go, or did you guys collaborate a bit as it went along?
I tend to not work like that. I do write a script because I like to get it in my own head. First of all, I sort of roughed it over 5 issues, and then Dark Horse only gave me 4. They said you can have 4. And so I said, okay. So I had to change it for that. And I like to have the whole story in my head. I had the whole story, all 4 issues roughly done. And then I started scripting. I scripted the first issue. And for me, scripts are just, they're a roadmap the way, it's the way is like, oh, I want to get to this point. I think we should go this way. But I'm open to interpretation. And so Ahmed will maybe combine some pages or change things. So I'm not a hard and fast script writer. I write sort of, it's sort of between a Marvel style and a sort of Alan Moore full script. I don't go quite as loose as a Marvel style, but I don't quite describe as much as Alan Moore does. I basically number panels for my own pacing, put in some dialogue, and give it to Ahmed. And I only get specific when I think a certain image needs to be done. Otherwise, Ahmed does what he does, changes things, adds things, and it's always better. I mean, it's always amazing to get pages in the email inbox and look at them and go, you know what, that's not what I described, but this is better. So amazing. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go with what the artist does. There's an occasional thing. If the story no longer actually makes sense to me, then I'll ask for a very specific thing so that I can make it make sense. But otherwise, I let the artist kind of do what they want. As
you were speaking there, I just came up with another idea. Now that the book is a reality, is your hope to go back and pitch the story for film or TV?
Not personally. I'm done with that. I mean, I've told the story the way I want to tell it. I think it is very adaptable, but I don't need to be the one to do it. I've done the story. I think there are people who could do it better and faster than me and give a different voice to it too. This is my version of it. I'd love to see someone else take it and someone else do their own thing with it. It's funny because I saw an eBay listing. They had mentioned that there was a rumor Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were going to do the movie. And I thought, well, that's great. No one's told me. Interesting rumor. I don't think it's true, but I love that it's out there. I love that people are thinking that way.
Cool. Yeah. It reminds me just very slightly tangentially about Adam West doing a failed TV pilot called Look Well.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember this, but
I don't know.
He was, you have to look it up. It's on YouTube. Conan O'Brien was actually a writer on it. Adam West, who we all know as played Batman in 1966. In this fictitious story, he was a TV detective whose series had been canceled and still thinks he's a detective in real life. So,
it's similar to, I don't know if you've seen the movie Mindhorn, I think it's called, a British movie that is a similar thing. It's a guy who played a detective, and then there is a person who is like holding, I can't remember the specific thing, but holding something ransom, and he'll only speak with Mindhorn, the character. And so the guy has to pretend to be Mindhorn again so he can do this sort of negotiation and find the criminal. I love that stuff. Like a lot of my stuff leans that way. The book I'm currently working on now has what you just described. Now I have to look at that because it's very similar to a book I'm working on right now.
Interesting. So is that one of your projects that you're working on? I know that Who Are the Power Pals? You said there's 4 issues on the go. Is there anything else that you're working on then that you could talk about?
So there's a few. So I'm working on a book. It's slated to come out in 2027. My first 2 books were with American publishers. I wanted to do something in this country with a Canadian publisher. So it's with Black Panel Press coming out next year, 2027. And the art is by Scott Brian Woods, who's in the London, Ontario area. And Shawn Daley's helping me out too with a couple pages. And that's a full-length original graphic novel that's what I'm working on now. I actually received a grant to do it too. So that's exciting because artists should be paid. So yeah, that's what I'm working on now. I have a play reading coming up, and then I've got an acting gig coming up. So I'm still always doing lots of different things, but comics wise, focused on this one book. And then I'm always got pitches going. I've got a pitch with Shawn Daley. I've got a sort of pitch and idea with Kalman Androsovsky. Like I've got people I work with that I'm constantly trying to get things moving. The plate's never empty. That's for sure.
Good. You'll be exhibiting at Toronto Comicon. That's coming in March. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what are you looking forward to most at that event?
What I look forward to most actually is seeing my friends, like the other creators that are there, because that's the only time I get to see Shawn Daley, and we're usually sitting beside each other. And Michael Schwartz and I actually went to a convention together in Harrogate, England, Thought Bubble. And he's going to be there. And so I like seeing those guys. And then also just the people who read my stuff that now have, some of them have become friends and some of them come by and visit me every time I'm there. And I like seeing those people and catching up and chatting. Some people, they go there and they hard sell and they sell a bunch of stuff. I tend to not sell a lot of stuff because I don't really push it. I just kind of sit there. And if people want to chat, I love chatting. And that's basically what I go there to hang out. I think a lot of people see that as an opportunity to get their work out there. And it is, and it's wonderful for that. But I kind of just go to hang out and chat with both creators and readers. I love it. It's my favorite part of it.
Nice. With everything that you've got going on today and in the future, where do you recommend that people go online to find out more about you?
I have a website now. I just sort of launched it about a month ago. It's very basic. It's just a one-pager, but it has links to my social media, which is where I am a little more often. I'd say Instagram is where I'm most active. I'm still not really that active, but I lurk. I do a lot of lurking. So I'm reachable there, and on Blue Sky as well. And then there's links to, there's actually a Power Pals trailer that I made way back for the pitch that Dark Horse ended up using as a book trailer that I think is a lot of fun. It's a live action, fake, true Hollywood stories teaser from, I don't know if you remember that show back in the 2000s, kind of a Where Are They Now thing for the characters. So I've got that. I've got link to my IMDb because I'm also an actor and a screenwriter still. So yeah, it's DuaneMurray.com. It's my name, DuaneMurray.com. I got my own domain name, which is great. It's more of a landing page. I don't really update it, but it is a place you can go to the links to find me in other places.
Thanks to Duane for the chat. You can discover more about Duane Murray online at DuaneMurray.com and on Instagram at DuaneMurrayGuy. And thank you for tuning into the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to even more conversations with creators about making comic books and graphic novels. I also encourage you to subscribe via the website so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media platforms, and you're encouraged to send any and all feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2026.